Mabuika, greetings, salutations, and good now. Welcome back to the channel. And oh, did I mention my name is Kevis Major? Doing it major. All right, so I was drawn to do a review of these two oils that I purchased today. But before I'm able to use the oils, I need to go take a shower, need to go take a bath, need to go take a cleanse. And so I felt drawn to make this video about spiritual baths because I take spiritual baths. However, I'm not initiated in anything. I didn't grow up in a voodoo, hoodoo, witchcraft household or anything like that. Or no formal training or anything of that nature. Like I grew up in a super Jesus household, right? But as you grow older, I guess things kind of come to you, and then as you start to work with predecessors, more things come to you, right? And so the concept of you know a spiritual bath is something that is very prominent in these type of circles, right? When you start working with different oils, roots, herbs, ancestors, your culture, right? Your heritage, you start really accepting it and embodying it. All of these stuff kind of come back to you. It's almost like your DNA, is kind of opening, and all of this memory is kind of coming back to you. Or you could see it as ancestors or whatever bringing this type of insight. Anyway, and so before I do the oils, I need to go take a shower, and while preparing to do the shower, I went outside to get some specific herbs. So over here I have two pats of a plant. This one is from the lemongrass plant or tree, and this one is from basil. And so these are two of the main ingredients that I'm going to include into my little bath that I'm going to do this evening before putting on these. I'm going to add some other ingredients. And so it's kind of good to have your garden on the outside so you have easy access to the herbs, and also some sort of idea of what the herbs represent energetically. And so a lot of that comes from the aroma, also how they look, the aroma, and the taste. And then I guess there's a lot of science to back up all of that. So let me just take a few steps backwards before I dive into more specifics about these two plants. But I just want to say, like, even though I grew up in a super super Christian household, I did grow up in like an extended family, and so I had, I basically grew up with my two grandmothers, right? And so I remember, during times when we were sick, right? During times when we were ill, we didn't feel well. That's when we really got the spiritual baths, I'm saying? That's when they would be putting extra stuff into the bath water, I'm saying? You're not gonna go take a regular shower, I'm saying? Sometimes you didn't have a bathtub for them to draw the tub, and so you would bathe in like a bucket or a pan, and they would be adding stuff into the water. I don't even know if the stuff they were adding in the water should have been in there, but they were adding stuff, I'm saying, extra little things from different bottles. It wasn't even no herbs. Like grandma and them had different stuff that they would put in like some bottle or something and something. Things that probably shouldn't even be in there, I'm saying. But by the time they already, mix up that little concoction, and, they say whatever prayers and they kind of bathe you in it, I'm saying. You come out the bath feeling good, I'm saying? Start feeling a lot better after grandma, I'm saying, already fixed up that bad. And so one side of it is, for me, I think it's the nostalgia, right? That kind of play on like, oh, grandma used to do this thing a kind of specific or auspicious way. And so me kind of practicing that, I feel closer to them. And so I feel more whole as an individual, and wholeness, healness, oneness, you know that's that trajectory, or that's one way to look at it. And then two, there was something about whatever they were putting in the water, I'm saying? And so there's the energetic vibratory, the prayers and the vibration and that whole, your grandmother giving you that love and concern that made you feel better, but also probably the chemistry and, whatever was happening in the water from a scientific level. And so those are just two ways of looking at it, right? Two ways of looking at it. And so, when we look at the different herbs, in astrology, when you look at basil, some people link this herb to Mars because of the kind of sharp aromas. Some people link it to Mercury. Lemongrass is also linked to Mercury. And so if we were to go with just the elements, we have, more fire over here, we have more air over here. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what type of herbs you want to add to your bats, to kind of balance your energies, right? We know that, on a mundane level, when you take a shower or take a bath, you're trying to get rid of impurities, trying to get rid of the dirt, you're trying to feel clean, all of the sweat and all of that type of stuff. You just want to, wash that off. And so you feel a lot lighter, you feel a lot cooler, you feel a lot calmer, relaxed, feeling a lot more positive. And so energetically, it's the same thing. You're not trying to wash away the physical dirt, but any energy signatures or any energy influences, stains that you may not want in your aura, in your field. That bad time is a time for you to, not only cleanse, your outer body, but internally any emotions or any thoughts that you don't want to have in your orbit. You wash them down, you scrub them, and you release them, you let them go during that bath, right? And so it's a deep, deep spiritual thing, man. I mean, you could just do it on the mundane level. You're cleaning your skin, you come out, you're feeling good, you're smelling good, but also it's an energetic kind of vibratory ritual as well, where you're purifying your thoughts, your mind of any, you know, thoughts, images, imaginations that you don't want to have, lingering. And the same thing for, any feelings or emotions that may be sitting inside of your body. You kind of, bring your awareness to them. Don't indulge, you just kind of ball them up, what I mean, scrub them off, and you kind of wash them out and let them go. And so the herbs now is adding, a bit more energy, raising your vibration to, your desired attention. And so we talked about a lot of air, a lot of fire. We know that air is about thinking, communicating, processing information. And so, you know moving things around, being a bit more logical, rational, protecting your mind. And then we also have, the volatility, right, or the velocity of Mars, using, its aggressive nature to, protect or expel things. And so we could look at this bat as, a bat that could, clear the mind, right? Remove any blockages around the mind, but also, give a bit of energy and inspiration, bit of passion, Mars type of energy. We're gonna add some other stuff, but we could see this as, a, I don't want to say harsh. I don't I don't want to say this is gonna be a harsh bath, because basil, kind of gives me a relaxing type of feel. It does definitely relax my nervous system, the basil. And then we have the white flower as well. There's just a small white flower here, just got one little white petal here. And we know that white represents purity. And so I'm just trying to purify my mind and my emotions while I'm doing this bath. I'm sorry, grandma style. I'm saying grandma will be throwing all kind of, I don't know, Florida water, some Dettol. I don't know, man. They will put in all kind of weird stuff in the baths, man. When you got a fever or something, sometimes they will just bathe you in cold water. Ice bucket challenge, a lot of ice in the buckets and just splash it on you. Other times they're gonna go make up a bath and put some, I'm saying, put some stuff in there. You gotta go put some stuff in the bath. You feel me? And so if you don't have a shower where you could actually go, uh no, I mean like a bathtub where you could actually go sit in the tub. I'm saying? Back in the Caribbean, we still got those little bat buckets or your little bat pan. I'm saying? So you're gonna go and do the spiritual bath first. You might want to heat the water, right? And then let the herbs steep or soak in the water. That's how grandma used to do it, you feel me? So I'm just going with grandma's remedy, grandma's method. I'm making stuff up, I'm pulling it out of my ass. And I'm saying they would boil it on a little kettle. You put this in, you might put some other ingredients. I'm not gonna go too hard tonight. Sometimes I do a bit of cayenne, sometimes I do a bit of sea salt, sometimes I do a bit of clove, but that's a bit too much fire tonight, right? I'm already fiery and this is enough fire for tonight. So I don't want to add all of that type of stuff. But sometimes when I just want to have a little bit more edge, a little bit more protection, you know what I'm saying? I'll go ahead, put some cayenne and some clove, I'm saying, and then to balance it out a little bit, add some sea salt because that's a bit more water and moon, you know what I'm saying? And try to balance it out that way. And I'm on my journey, you feel me? Eventually enough, we're gonna have some good bat bombs and some different other conjures that I'm gonna conjure up myself. But on this journey, especially coming from where we're coming from, like we're coming out of this whole kind of Christianity era back into our indigenous belief system, but not really in the original authentic way. You know what I'm saying? We're making baby steps and strides to kind of get back, but there's not really a going back. Like it cycles, but kind of progressing into the future. Right, we're never gonna go back to the Stone Ages. Right, I don't think so. I don't think the world is gonna collapse that far and start all over again in that type of way. But anyway, that's a whole different type of conversation. Because I need to go take the bath and come back and review the oils. So yeah, I think we're gonna end there with the spiritual baths. We're gonna go cleanse. We're gonna go remove some of those energies that I'm sorry no longer need, no longer helpful, useful. When you're going everyone having conversations with people, you're shaking hands, you're hugging, you're bumping onto people, you know what I'm saying? And some of those energies, like, you know what I'm saying, just want to make sure, you feel me, like I know I'm protected, I know I'm not taking it home with me, but just in case, you feel me, the rings and the jewels didn't block those, just in case we're gonna ask the spirit and the nature of the herbs, you know what I'm saying? So that's why you kind of pray over the herbs too. I remember I used to be saying some words. Now you used to say some words too, some abracadabras and stuff like that. So you gotta go say some words over the herbs and stuff like that. Maybe dry it out for a few moments in the hot water. Then you add some cool water. You take a little, you know what I'm saying, and then you go do your regular shower or whatever. You feel me? After you don't do the little herbal spiritual thing, you know what I'm saying. So you just do a little, you know what I'm saying. But if you got a bath, now you could draw a hole. You know what I'm saying, lay in the bathtub for like a whole 30 minutes or something. I'm saying you could do all of that, add different stuff. But if you don't have one, you know what I'm saying, you go get a little bucket, a little bat pan, and you feel me? You do it there, you take a nice little wash with your cloth. You know what I'm saying, you do that, and then you go take your regular big man shower, you feel me? All right, so we're gonna end it here. Hope you guys find this one helpful, useful, or at the very least a little entertaining. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think about spiritual baths. What's your go-to herbs for taking your little spiritual esoteric showers? Any tips or tricks that you want to share with your boy Major? Drop it down in the comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. We're gonna be reviewing some oils. I'm saying some oils. This one is Desire, and this one says Money. So when we come back, we're gonna review them.